Hello, welcome to Starseed Mission Support. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for people to start coming in, and then I'll explain who I am and why you're seeing my face and not C's face. So let's just give it a few minutes and let people start arriving into the space. Welcome. All right. So hello, beloved Starseed family all across planet Earth. We are so joyful and just so full of gratitude to connect with you this week on Starseed Mission Support. I'm Willow. I am a friendly gatekeeper here at the Earth Star Academy. I currently work with Z to help answer emails and do Hello, welcome to Starseed Mission Support. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes for people to start coming in, and then I'll explain who I am and why you're seeing my face and not C's face. So let's just give it a few minutes and let people start arriving into the space. You're welcome. All right. So hello, beloved Starseed family all across planet Earth. We are so joyful and just so full of gratitude to connect with you this week on Starseed Mission Support. I'm Willow. I am a friendly gatekeeper here at the Earth Star Academy. I currently work with Z to help answer emails and do sort of like admin stuff for the Academy. Chances are, if you have emailed Z in the past few months, it has been me answering the emails. Yeah, but anyways, I am here today instead of Z because she is on a surprise little grid work journey and she is unable to make it to this call, but she has this wonderful thing planned that I'm going to go ahead and just I'm going to read this message that she has written from the Galactics and sort of explain a little bit more about what we're diving into today. So bear with me here. First time going live on a larger YouTube, so happy to be here. Feel very grateful. And let's get into it. So, this weekend, we are celebrating another galactic alignment between the Earth, our sun, and the Galactic Centre. So Z is out on that grid work mission, as I mentioned, surprise. And she meant to pre-record this video, but ran out of time. And so I have been asked to share this message from our high angelic Sirian Gridwork team for you. So this transmission is coming through loud and clearly. And this is preparing us for our upcoming collective gridwork opportunity, also known as a mass meditation. So we wanted to begin by extending an invitation to this collective gridwork opportunity. And this is going to be happening on January 5th. 2022. So next month, it's right around the corner. And on this day, during the peak of the Sirian alignment at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, we have the opportunity to work hand in hand with our team in Sirius to anchor a high frequency energy on the Earth. So on this day, our Sirian teams are going to be able to send us a signal and support the ground crew being all of us starseeds here on Earth. And this is going to support us in transmitting this high frequency signal to humanity. So basically, we are the portals from which this higher frequency from Sirian can come through and be of benefit to the world. So this frequency is intended as an antidote. It's an awakening frequency, if you will, for the dissolution of mind control and widespread hypnosis that's happening on a mass scale in humanity. So, in order for this frequency to be broadcasted to humanity on a mass scale, it is best transmitted via organic human consciousness, also known as human telepathy. So, that's where we come in, right? So, Z wants me to share this little personal story with you about her journey. And I'm going to be reading off of a little paper here so that I'm getting it absolutely perfectly right. So, bear with me here, and yeah, let's get into it. So when Z was first waking up in the psychedelic rave scene of Montreal in the early 2010s, she was consistently guided to explore how her psychic abilities could influence the energies and states of people around her. She noticed that if she radiated joy and love, that the frequency of the room would steadily increase as long as she focused on cycling that energy with the space. One night, during a party, she decided to go to Arby's for a root beer float. When she arrived, there were 8 to 10 people standing in line. This idea came to her to play a game. She knew that this was a part of her experimenting to reveal her psychic abilities. She asked the person in front of her if they would like to play rock, paper, scissors. If she won, then she would get to stand in front of them in the line. Of course, everyone was delighted to play, quite entertained by this strange proposal at 2:30 a.m. And so she would then transmit the losing play into their mind as she played the winning hand. And shortly, through doing this, she got to the front of the Arby's line after winning every single game. Oh, wow. Okay. So Z spent the rest of the night considering if this was immoral, if it's immoral to influence the mind of other people without permission. She decided to never do it again, thank God, until she gains the spiritual and human maturity to cultivate and utilize this superpower for good. So, the 8 years that followed, Z has been diligently working on herself, never again deliberately using this skill except in permission granted situations, like private sessions where she would project herself into the client's body to influence the healing, remembrance, and awakening. And she continued to train her abilities and now offers profound healing transmission and psychic surgery through these modalities. So, Z has also been on a mission researching the multidimensional mind control that humanity is under. The CIA trauma-based MK Ultra programming, AI consciousness, popular media, fear, and societal programming. And in realizing that we can use our psychic powers to return sovereignty to humanity through psychically clearing the frequencies of AI, mind control, and hypnosis. So this is the basis of the mass meditation that we are going to be doing together in January. We're basically going to be radiating an antidote frequency of mind control and hypnosis dissolution and remembrance of our sovereign humanity to the collective consciousness in this unified effort. It's a big deal. And yeah, anyone listening to this right now, if you're feeling called, this is part of your mission. And to support this mission, Z has released a holographic sound healing chamber, and you can find the link to that in the description box down below, or you can find it as the latest upload on our YouTube channel. And this sound healing chamber is going to clear and restore the debris, trauma, and distortion from our light bodies, and is going to prepare us to be clear vessels for this planetary mission. So simply read the description of that sound chamber video to learn about the details and codes on a more familiar basis. And Z is also going to be releasing another sound chamber before the mass meditation, which you will be able to download and play at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, or 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on January 5th. So please join the Earthstar Academy Telegram channel to receive the real-time updates on the planetary grid work efforts. That link is going to be down in the bio as well of this video. And this is just going to be a beautiful antidote and awakening frequency transmission that we are going to collectively share with humanity. So you're invited to go to a densely populated area like a mall or a city center, or a vibrationally powerful sacred site, wherever you feel called to be. Both are equally important for the collective intent. So the collective broadcast of this frequency is going to catalyze a mass awakening in humanity and the clearing of mind control and societal hypnosis. And as humanity exists in collective consciousness, us starseeds as a whole have a huge capacity to influence collective thought. If you think about like a school of fish that suddenly changes in direction, it's always in coherence and in togetherness. And the Starseed Collective can also be like that. They can dramatically alter the direction of timeline flow of collective humanity and create a sudden shift in awareness, which I know all of you have probably experienced to some degree. These are just more organized efforts that we're trying to implement nowadays. So, in order for this to be successful, all interested participants should begin to work with the 15D aura clearing chamber for 15 to 30 minutes per day, and also practice Vipassana meditation with the support of the 15D aura clearing chamber. This will greatly accelerate the DNA repair, light body clearing, and activation. And this is important because the more coherent our light bodies are, and the more source 12D and up frequencies that we can hold and transduce through our DNA and vessels, the more crystalline our psychic transmission can be, and the more successful our mission will be as well. It's just very important to lay this groundwork, and that's why we're offering you the resources to do so. And this following workshop that I'm going to play, Z has pre-recorded a workshop for you guys, and it's going to break down the process of activating and embodying our creator potential, training and crystallizing our light body, initiated and used as a stargate of source perfection. And as we become the source of this reality, a nexus or a gateway for original source creation to flow through us into the 3D world, we will begin to restore this world from the ground up. It's a science, it's the mechanics of creation, and it all works through our bio-spiritual anatomy. So with all of that being said, you can sign up for our newsletter to stay updated on this and other missions in the future. Link is also in the description below, or you can just visit www.earthstar.academy. You can also join the Telegram channel to receive lifetime updates and reminders regarding the grid work efforts and intel, and the link for that is also in the description below. And yeah, I'm Willow, and I work closely with Z in the Earthstar Academy. I'm on the same mission all of you are on, and if you're interested in connecting with me further, I will also have my social media links down in the description box below. And I'm also going to be hanging out in the chat as this workshop plays if you have any questions. So yeah, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and share that video now, the workshop.
Our light body is composed of many layers and dimensionalities of energy and consciousness, right? And consciousness is what's interacting with the holograph or the holographic reality. And the holographic reality, this physical reality that we see and experience, our direct access point to that is our human body, right? As these interdimensional cosmic consciousness beings, when we're coming into physicality, we come into a vessel, and it just so happens that these human vessels are highly conscious, highly intelligent. They were designed to be a vessel for source consciousness, for God embodied, God aware, Christed beings. And so these physical bodies, not just physical anatomy with your organs and everything, but your nested interdimensional anatomy that you see and feel as your physical body, is a highly conscious and intelligent bioorganism. And these bodies are literally designed to transduce universal consciousness. Right? These bodies are intended and designed to house a divine being, a God being. And so there are many mechanisms inside of this physical vessel that was designed for you to have that experience. And so, as we were saying this morning, the whole of our vibration is what creates our reality. So as source consciousness is flowing through the vessel, and if our vessel and our DNA is harmonically in a crystalline geometry, or a undistorted or unwounded or perfected form as it was originally intended to be, then what you would experience is source consciousness transducing through, or fractaling, projecting spectrums through your DNA, through your physical vessel, and directly projecting into the hologram. And this is a process of how the mechanisms of creation is experienced in your creator vessels, right? And so, the higher dimensional energy our body and genetics can transduce, right? The more powerful our influence on the hologram is. So the influence that we have on the world around us increases because we become a more powerful source of the creation. And so this is another reason why the elites have hidden all the occult or esoteric knowledge, right? They've taken all the books that teach us about creation and burnt them, because then they become the most aware creators on the planet. If your DNA is not a creating source consciousness, it has less influence over the hologram, right? And so this is exponential. And so this is really why the negative ETs have cut humanity off from this gnosis, from this awareness, so that they can be the most powerful creators in the fabric of reality, so they can control and enslave humanity, right? So then this is the root or the crux of the spiritual war, then, is reclaiming your power to transduce source consciousness and to accrete high vibrational source energy in a very crystalline, fractalized way, where then you become the most conscious God presence embodied on this planet. And when we have a collective of people, I'm getting chills, when we have a collective of people that are actively training towards this, what we call the ascension process, right? What is ascension? It's basically when we experience higher and higher dimensionalities of consciousness, higher and higher qualities of unified source consciousness, accreting through our physical body, accreting through our DNA in this physical reality. What happens is, and this is really the stuff that I was learning when I was, this little kid waking up in the rave scene. And I was, in fact, exploring psychedelics. That's how I woke up. But when I took the psychedelics, my DNA, like I was saying in the beginning, my superpowers would activate to a point where I had no control over them. And it would just totally freak me out and just like actually mess up the Earth's grids, because I just noticed that my field had an influence on the world around me. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this, where you're on a bus or you're standing with a group of people and you might be thinking something, and all of a sudden it manifests or it's created outside of you, or people begin to respond. Like if you're in a really good mood, people around you start to raise in vibration and they become in a good mood. or maybe you're really angry and then almost like, it's like the storm clouds roll in and things become really dramatic. It's like your internal state of energy is directly affecting the world outside of you. And so I have experienced very scary scenarios when I was, in my early 20s, and I was exploring psychedelics, but then all of a sudden my psychic abilities would come online and I wouldn't stop being able to influence the field. I wouldn't be able to control my thoughts because I hadn't gone through ego training and I hadn't healed my parts. And so I would start to instantaneously manifest very silly and distorted things. And then that distorted frequency would then radiate into the field. And I learned from a very young age, I guess, that there's a responsibility to being a creator being. And the best way to cultivate your superpowers is obviously through grounded, meticulous, devoted training and not taking any shortcuts. Because the shortcuts can be dangerous, and there's really no shortcuts when it comes to the path of mastery. In fact, the path of mastery itself is the shortcut, right? It's kind of this direct path from A to B. A, your present um, state of being, and B, your embodied master self. And so you're already going in the straight diagonal path there. You can't really get shortcuts. And when we try to jump and skip steps, we just don't know what kind of trouble we can get in because we are very powerful. And this is something that I hope, Shane, you're okay with me sharing. But one time we were driving on the highway and Shane was like kind of grumpy and he started like almost like racing with this other guy on the road. And I'm sure you guys all understand when you're just kind of like, oh, whatever, I'm kind of in a bad mood. Like, let me just like be a muggle for a second. And so what happened was this other guy was kind of trying to get in front of us and then he would, play off that energy. And then what happened was that everybody on the road started getting super chaotic and people started driving really fast and revving their engines and like all the cars around us just got really chaotic. And I was like, look, you have a very advanced DNA template. There's a reason why you are more responsible for this creation than maybe a muggle or someone that's totally asleep that isn't activated or doesn't have the DNA template. And so we have to kind of be the mature ones. But I think that was a really cool teaching moment, right? To really show us that we do have a lot of power, and with what did he say? With power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man's uncle, Uncle Ben. Okay, right. And so, this is a funny story. One time I was at a rave and it was like 3 in the morning and I just really wanted a root beer float. And at that time, for the first 2 years of my awakening, I was going to a lot of raves, a lot of parties, and I was just waking up. It was really busted me out of my false matrix, like little good Chinese girl persona. So it was totally designed. But even as I was going to those festivals, I knew that there was a training that was occurring because I was already communicating with my interdimensional team and they were already showing me that I was doing recon and different kinds of things. And I was, of course, studying human energetics, studying the effects of my energy on the field. And I remember at 3 a.m. one day, I just really wanted a root beer float. So I went to A&W's and there was a really long line. I thought, well, what if I just challenged every person here to rock, paper, scissors, and then I'll project the wrong answer in their head and then I'll win. And so I asked everybody in that line, I said, play rock, paper, scissors with me. If I win, I get in front of you. And within 10 minutes, I was at like the front of the line. And, I realized that um, this mechanism of our ability to influence the field when we have more access to source consciousness is real. And that's also when I actually realized that this is a great responsibility. And so I basically stopped experimenting and initiated the mastery training, which means, meditating and going through basically the Earth Star Academy, but with my guides over the past 7-8 years. And this is basically preparing my field to hold space on a mass level, which is what all of us are here to do. Now, what I just shared, this awareness or this mechanism of your DNA to transduce source consciousness, which becomes the source of the hologram, this is the foundation of our leg up in the spiritual war, right? Because we are actually carrying source DNA. We're actually given the permission, or we're actually ordained by source to embody these frequencies. And so there aren't any bad guys that can actually overpower our consciousness and our intention to be in complete alignment to transduce the intention of source. It's a scientific process, right? There's no evil people that have the level of advanced DNA templates as the starseed people do at this time. However, activating our DNA and correcting and healing our vessel to the point where we actually can transduce these higher dimensional energies, that's where the tricky part comes in. And the elites, of course, know this. And so that is actually why there are so many false light, fake new age teachings that are, making people satisfied with playing with crystals and doing visualizations and, hiding the ancient teachings of bioregenesis and DNA activation so that we're not accessing these levels of our awareness and of our mastery. I know a lot of energy is coming through because I am sweating. Okay. And so I'm going to segue into grid work here because grid work, our vessel is the source of grid work, not the mind and not kind intentions, right? And so an activated light energy body that can transduce light energy is what is doing the work. So basically what that's saying is that we have to do this energy holographic grid work on our own body because, again, with the new age fluffy stuff is that many people are attracted to doing grid work and it's in fact their destiny to do grid work. But then instead of diving deep into mastery work, we will go to these places, like I have friends and people in the past that have just gone to Egypt and just have totally had their light body messed up because these Stargate wars have been going on for a really, really long time. And going to places like Egypt and going to different places to do grid work without your psychic sight fully activated and without your DNA template of creating the level of source energy that it needs is basically a suicide mission or going into the battlefield with no weapons and blindfolded. Okay? And so most of the time, people go to these places and, half the time they're just dumping their stuff or picking up entities or not really accomplishing anything. And so this is where we get into like the internal external work. It's like I find that for everything you see me do in the public, that's 10% of my time. 5 to 10% of the time I'm exerting my efforts to share myself. And then the rest of the time I'm actually healing myself, connecting into the grids and activating my DNA because I understand that this is the only way that I can actually make a difference. I can actually become the source of the hologram. And once this understanding truly integrates, you realize that you are the greatest gift to the universe, to the planet. Thanks. Whew. Thank you. Just hang on one second here. The field is very delicate right now, and so it's hard for me to have distractions because it kind of interferes with my field. Thank you very much. Whew. Yeah, so when we're tuned into perceiving super fine, subtle energies, it's like I'm tapped into all of your energies, and I'm tapped into the G's or the galactics, and I'm transmitting kind of the meeting point of where the energy is to bring us into a higher vibration. And so this is a very sensitive apparatus or technology or app that's running in my brain. And so it's really hard for me to have movements in the space while I'm transmitting. So okay, so ascension is the materialization of higher dimensional consciousness and the embodiments of those qualities of source, or those qualities of God. So just as we were saying yesterday, when we know that we have Siddhic powers to be able to instantaneously heal, to be able to materialize things from thin air, to be able to heal landscapes and bring back, extinct creatures or bring in new creatures, all of these creator powers are unique specialties that so many of you are carrying. And, when I'm doing sessions with you guys, I'm just consistently in awe. You wouldn't believe the kind of magnificent, unique codes and techniques and tools that you guys are actually bringing in to this planet for its healing. And so, recognizing that you are the greatest gift that God could have possibly thought up to bring onto this planet at this time to bring about universal completion. I mean, it's magnificent, it's magical, it's like a fairy tale, right? Once we get over the hump of the shadow work and the healing work, we start to access, the true magical creatures that we are. And one of the reasons why I'm able to perceive all of your gifts and codes is because I'm a master code keeper. What that means is that I'm carrying the Akashic libraries or genetic libraries of all of the skills and codes that we have brought here to Earth. And that's also why I'm playing this role as the transmitter of our starseed mission at this time, is because I played this role upstairs and I helped us weave these genetic strands. And so that gives me the best job in the whole universe, to be able to witness the magnificent beauty that all of you are, these miracles that have brought just incredible tools and magic and codes to this planet. And so what we're doing right now is there's a part of this false light new age glass ceiling that exists in the solar plexus, where because we're now crossing into the other side, we're also smashing that into smithereens, because it is hindering our ability to perceive ourselves and is leading us to settle for half asleep and lesser embodied versions of ourselves, or we're like, oh well, I think I know my psychic abilities, or I threw some crystals out on a grid one time, I think I'm doing my job. Well, now we're literally just vacuuming the amnesia fog right out of the brain and the solar plexus of saying, yes, believe in yourself. Know that you're carrying such immense magic and you are worthy of acknowledging that, so you take the right steps forward as a master being to train your human self, to go through the ego training and to bring back all of our human parts that have been splintered, so that you can actually fully experience yourself. You deserve that, and humanity deserves you, and all of the universe deserves to experience the magnificence and the perfection and the beauty that you truly, truly are. Right? Whoo! And so my training in the early days really involved perceiving my ability to influence the field, which is something that every advanced genetically coded starseed has. And the funny way that they describe this is like 5G versus 5D, right? We have the 5G towers as emitting a false matrix frequency, and then we have the 5D towers, and it's really not 5D at all. It's 5D plus, it's 12D plus, but with your 12D and even more advanced DNA templates, you're literally transducing perfect geometry, heaven on earth, through your field. Right? This is not a mental process. This is not a visualization process. It's a scientific level of accretion, level of frequency transduction that happens through your body, through your DNA, and through your light body. And I think even as I'm speaking these words, I'm getting so hot. I know that some of you are feeling it, right? It's like, and then every time we slide into a higher level of awareness, it's so funny that they say, oh, this is a new normal. I'm like, yeah, this is my new normal. I now transduce this much cosmic light energy. And we just gotta spin these funny quotes. I love them. This is our new normal. So this is scientific, right? The more source energy you can coherently transduce through your DNA and through your field, the more qualities of divinity you're going to exhibit, the stronger of a source of the hologram you are, the more influence you have on the external reality to literally reformat the hologram to the vibration that we as a unified collective are intending, also known as New Earth or Heaven on Earth, right? And so once this thing, I want to rewind and just listen to that or write it down and just stick it everywhere in your world, because it's so easy to forget that you are the source of the hologram. And it's also because, the new age is just infiltrated with mind-numbing information that wants you to be satisfied with where you are, or think that, it'll happen to you. Ascension's going to happen to you, right? Do you become a professional athlete sitting there hoping that you're gonna win a gold medal one day? No. Do you think that you're gonna have a PhD in physics and build a rocket ship if you just sit on your ass and think you want it one day? No. Are you gonna be a professional pianist if you just sit there and not practice? No. So why do we think that ascension and DNA activation, even though in the past we've committed our whole lives to training and practicing in the temples, that in this lifetime, it's just going to happen to us, right? Is a new age glass ceiling trick. So we're realizing that you are the source. We are the source of the hologram because we are the seeds of cosmic consciousness, of source unity that have been seeded here on this planet to collapse the universal consciousness into a higher dimensional expression of itself. And so once you realize that, then there's nothing to fear on the external reality. There's nothing anywhere in this physical reality that's as powerful as the potential of your star-seeded, highly coded DNA template. And I say potential because, once again, we're talking about deliberate action, deliberate training. This level of ascension, especially with the amount of anti-propaganda that we're experiencing, there is a force that is consciously suppressing ascension and activation on this planet. And in the second half of this workshop, we're going to talk about the different seals and artificial implants that has been placed in the planetary body, specifically so the activation of our original DNA template wouldn't happen. So if there's already an effort to counter our ascension, a certain level of deliberate counteraction is necessary. Right? We need to deliberately train our bodies and understand what is actually happening. What is actually our goal? What is actually our mission? Well, the first part of our mission to bring heaven on earth is to actually activate our vessel and our anatomy and our light body and our DNA's ability to accrete higher and higher coherent frequencies and geometries of original source consciousness. And this happens through our entire field, not just our mind, not just our heart, but through our entire body, through our entire toroidal field. That's why we focused the first half of our workshops on the earth self. And so this is all because we're wanting to activate our 5D towers, the emanators of the original template of creation, that literally through your exertion of will, of signal, that you are shifting the fabric of reality into the reality it's being intended by creation to be. And so it's a scientific thing, right? It's scientific. The more conscious you are, meaning the more, not like, I'm vegan and I know all about sustainability. The more source consciousness, it's a mathematical frequency, mass, quotient, right? And you're feeling that energy right now. It's like you're feeling more lucid, you're feeling more fluid, you're feeling more connected. So the more of this energy that you can embody and you can transduce coherently through your entire field, the more source power you have. And so the more influence over the hologram you have. And that's why the elites hid, and destroyed all of the teachings of bioregenesis. I mean, this has existed in India in the times when Christ was alive, and in many, many ancient cultures in Mayan. These understandings of bio spiritual anatomy is not a secret and not new. But the reason why the elites have taken it and made it esoteric is because then they are the most conscious source creators of this world, right? So that's why humanity has a hard time creating a new reality, because they're literally not accreting the creation power, because they're literally being purposefully blocked from that. Okay? I know I'm repeating myself because I really need you guys to understand this. So basically then is all about light and frequency excretion, right? And this is how we train. And so when I had my dream, the first time that I had a dream about this center or this school, it was back in 2015, and they were saying Earth Star Academy. And so I was getting the downloads about this back in 2015, but it took me 6 years to unpack all of these things full time, to actually bring these things into coherence to offer to you. But I had this dream where we were in the astral, and there was this place, and it was like everybody was working and training and doing push-ups and training our telepathy. And I said, what is this? It said, this is a star being training facility. And so we don't play around here at the Earth Star Academy. This is a star being training facility. I thought it was strange how they worded it back then, because I was still kind of fluffy in my own perceptions of the world. And I thought, how about retreat center or sanctuary or something kind or something loving? And they're like, well, you're in the middle of a spiritual war, and so it would be strange to call it anything else, don't you think? And I think this is really the vibration of mastery that you're thirsty for. You're hungry for this, right? Because we're kind of bored of the fluffy, and right now we're really getting ready to train to accrete high vibrational source energy through our light body, so we can become 5D towers and get this show on the road, as my beloved likes to say, turn the lights on and get the job done. Right? So there's a lot of false light artificial implant systems, especially targeting starseeds and the new age and light workers, right? Because this is the frequency of interdimensional mastery and energy accretion. This is not a secret. So anyone that proposes that they're doing DNA activation and that they're activating light bodies, they should be able to share this knowledge with you. And if they don't have this knowledge, then they're not actually experiencing those things internally. So then, I don't know what else to tell you. So you cultivate subtle sense and see for yourself. Right. So let's see here. What I'm saying, activation equals deliberate action. Activation equals deliberate action. There's specific tools and guides and systems that can support you in this training. That's what the Earth Star Academy is entirely. And so, and the one thing that I have on here is that false light artificial implant systems. I was tuning into one interesting one last night where it basically, it literally feels like a brain number. Like it's this thing that hooks into the top of the head. And I felt like the top of my head was on some sort of like anesthetic or something. And I just felt like the top of my head was numb. And, I practiced this thing called psionic redaction, where I crawl into other consciousness to perceive and to study and retrieve information. And so I, consciously slid myself into this implant, and that's what I experienced. But basically, this is the spiritual version of don't think and don't, learn and don't perceive and don't think for yourself, right? There are certain half-truths and overarching beliefs in the New Age community that, it's like they make you, again, just satisfied with barely anything. So like, oh yeah, I feel energy. Okay, I guess I'm spiritual and that's good enough. And it's like there are literal etheric implants that are perpetuating those spaces. And so once again, the field is clearing those out. Whew. Because, from this vibration is what I'm speaking to you. I'm basically reflecting to you what devoted, deliberate action looks like and the amount of energy accretion that it leads me to. So many of you are like, wow, the ceremonies, they are so amazing. Well, I'm not a miracle healer, or it could perceive, to a human being, it might look like I'm performing miracles, but I'm pretty sure, Jesus understood that he was just performing things of scientific mechanism, right? Because these are creator vessels, and the geometry of your DNA excretes and accretes and transduces source energy. And so when you transduce such perfect coherent frequencies, everything in your field begins to correct itself. And that's why when we're in this field, you're feeling the healing, you're feeling the restoration. And it's like there are just levels beyond where I am now, right? It's like I'm 27 years old. I will be in a totally different place in 7 years in the trajectory that we're going. And what we want, what the 144,000, the Starseed Collective, we are so excited. I mean, when I discovered these levels of teachings, it was like Starseed Christmas. It's Starseed Christmas. We are like, finally, I'm home. This is, our home frequency, mastery, and devotion, and doing stuff deliberately, like we always have. And so, on that note, let's see here. Whew. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. My writing is really messy this morning. Okay, let's just do a quick reprise. Am I saying that word right? Reprise. Okay, English is my second language. So let's go ahead and just review for a minute, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then when we get back, we're going to talk about the planetary seals. And so we're talking about how frequency accretion and source holographic transduction is scientific. It's literally just how crystalline and how geometrically perfect and restored your DNA template and your light body is, right? And so the earth self is obviously a huge part in this, because we can't expect ourselves to transduce pristine source frequencies when our earth self is just like, is wounded, is crying, is screaming, and needs help, and needs his diaper change. And we need to just calm down and slow down and realize we can't skip any steps. And good thing there are so many tools that we can use. And then we become the 5D towers, or the 12D towers that restore. We are literally fractalizing restoration in the field. Now, imagine you're just walking down the street and people are healing and they're crying in the face of the divinity that they're reconnecting to, right? You can't convince an atheist that God exists, but if you walk by them and they have an experience of interconnection, they can't really argue with that, right? And what do we say? As a emanator of source frequency, when you begin to accrete and transduce these vibrations, it's mathematical that miracles are starting to happen, because it's really how, mechanically you were designed to hold a field. And that is why we all came down here. This is a mission of the 144,000, right? The activated light body. I'm sweating. It's so exciting to me. Okay. So I hope I repeated that several times now, and you probably I'm gonna play this back, because this is the stuff right here.